So I'm Jonathan Smith, and we're over here at the Arts Fund, and the piece that we have over here is the font. And the font, well, how did this thing come together? Basically what happened is that we were at a party over on Helena Street here in Santa Barbara, and this fellow Carlos Padilla came over, and he got talking to our friend Alan Macy. Alan comes running inside and says, "Hey John, you got to talk to this guy." So I come outside, and there's Carlos, and Carlos says that he is a sound sculptor. And it's like, well, you know, we are curious about this. What is a sound sculptor? And it turned out that what he was doing was this thing over here, which is the font. He had kind of the initial stage of it, which is what it was. It was a very, very traditional type of a way of creating a Faraday wave. The Faraday waves are the type of waves which go on top of the water. It's like when you put sound into it.
Keep talking, yeah.
When you put sound into it, let me do this. It's just like when you put sound into it. You ready?
What's going on here?
So what's happening is that we're putting sound waves underneath the water. In this case, what we're using here is a thing called a sound exciter. Originally, what's generally used is a speaker underneath, and then the air pressure from the speaker hits the pan, and it creates waves, these things known as Faraday waves. We tried out a whole bunch of stuff. We tried an oscillator. The oscillator worked really well, but what happened is that when you get it up to a particular pitch, it sits there, and we found out that it just burned out the speakers. So we kind of burned out one speaker, then we burned out another speaker. So then we tried to use a theremin, and the problem with the theremin is that as you try and move your hand around the bars of the theremin, you can't keep a constant pitch. And so in anybody who walks by, it changes the pitch as well, so you can't get the types of sustained waves that you would like to have. So then what we cottoned onto was that if you used a microphone, this is the best thing. Not only does it make it much more interactive, as Alan's now doing, but you can sustain the wave as well, and now it's supremely interactive. So what's going on inside is that we now have a sound exciter with a microphone. The sound exciter is a very small piece of how do you say it, machinery that basically goes right onto the bottom with these little legs, and it causes the pan itself to vibrate. Really, really beautiful. Alan has also figured out, we have an amplifier in there, but we also have a thing called a harmonizer, and for some reason the harmonizer makes it work even better. And so the other thing that we're doing with this is that we've got light on there to enhance it, and then we also have two cameras so that we can then fill the place with projection. So essentially what's happening is your voice is now working in three completely different areas. And it's beautiful. It's just like, this is like cymatics at its best, really. You know?
So is the image always different, and how would you describe the image?
The image, what we see inside there is, depending upon which type of pitch you hit, it will create a very particular type of wave. That you'll get, as Mark goes into it, you can see certain types which are almost block-like, that they're almost, they're representational almost of like a beehive in a sense. And there are other ones that go in there which are very, very reminiscent of sand dunes, like when the wind is blowing across the sand dunes and you look down on it. So it's just like, it's one of those things which is, realistically, it's one of those types of wave patterning which is intrinsic to nature itself. It's just like
standing wave ratios.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you say?
Standing wave ratios is what we're creating here, and these are essentially acts of nature. What we're doing is we're recreating the various different types of things which go on inside nature itself.
Have you learned anything from this? What have you learned from the project?
I've learned that microphones work better than oscillators. That when you have to have something which has something variable inside it, that if you put it up to a certain point where it just resonates at a particular pitch, it will just burn things out.
Okay.
And we've learned that we need to use exactly the right cameras as well. So the types of cameras themselves seem to be showing things at different frame rates in a sense, and in conjunction with the projectors. And it's like trying to get these to work with each other has proved to be actually quite difficult. It's one of those things where it's just like, hey, it's a great idea and it's really easy, and then you actually get the machinations of it, and once again it's just like it proves to be a lot more complex than you ever thought it was really going to be.
Well, thank you. And you, once again, who are you?
I'm Jonathan Smith, and I'm one of the people who helped create the font.
I collaborated on the font.